Okay, this is the video to repair a broken float. So as you can see in my case here, the pump just keeps pumping and pumping and pumping. So the float inside the pump is bad. Okay, this is what I picked up from Amazon. A little float, it's about 30 bucks. So not much to it. Here's the ring that clamps on to there'll be a pipe. And then inside this clamp, there's another kind of a mini clamp that the float will attach to, like so. And then you just drop that into your well for your sump well. So this is basically it, and then this goes into your AC. Not a lot to it, about 30 bucks. Save you from calling a plumber or buying a new sump pump. So basically the way it works is when the weight here, the float is down in the water will fill up, and then as the float rises, you hear that clunk. That's probably something inside there making a connection into the circuit and turning on the pump. So basically the way this works, this is the float part here. Let me take this off. So once the water level rises to a specific level inside this well, there's a float that, well, floats up. Once it floats up, a connection occurs inside this wire, and then it brings 120 volts out to this outlet here, this connector, which is powered to the pump and turns the pump on. And so once the water goes down, then this connection turns off, which turns the pump off. So for any project that involves electricity, especially in this case, unplug, let me get the wire out of the way, unplug the sump pump and the float, so there's no risk of electrocution. Okay, so here's the sump well. Take the cover off. As you can see here, go down in here. Here's your two pipes that wrap around the house that basically bring all the excess moisture and water into the well here, and then the pump pumps all this out back out to the outside through this. I think it's a 1.5 PVC pipe. So in this case, it's kind of hard to see. The pump is right down here. So it's been in my house for about 23 years here. The float and the power is integrated, goes inside of this chassis or housing. At this point, I don't want to rip this pump out and replace the float inside there based on the fact I got to cut this pipe because they didn't put a one-way valve in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to replace this float. I'm going to cut the wire, put a new float on, about 30 bucks. That stops me from having to remove the pump and assembly and, you know, all this digging into and opening stuff up. Instead, I'll, like I said, put a new float in there, and that'll solve that problem lickety split. All right, with the new assembly attached and connected, let's try it out here. Hopefully it works. Now it should shut off. Bam, there we go. So that should solve my problem for 30 bucks. All right, now we just slide this float electrical connection into this little clamp here. Like so, and then we'll adjust how high or low it'll go, and then once that's set, we'll tighten that screw that has this little nut on it. All right, so now we'll drop it in the drink. All right, so now we'll take this hose clamp here, wrap it around this pipe, and then let it slide down. We got to figure out where to kind of position it so the float doesn't hit the side wall of this sump well. I also want to make sure that when the water does come up, that the float turns on before it reaches the bottom of these pipes, because otherwise then the water will flow back into the drain pipes, which defeats the purpose. So I want to keep my water low below these pipes. So the trick is, when you're working on this, is to get the clamp in the position to where the float doesn't get stuck on the bottom of the sump well as well as the sidewall. If it gets stuck on the sidewall, it won't come up the level, and it will prevent the float from working, and you could potentially flood your sump well there. So extra care and precaution here, just to double check and make sure that everything works. Okay, again here, the sidewall, I always want to test it to make sure on the sidewall that it doesn't rub or get caught, because again, if it doesn't close the circuit, the pump will never turn on. So I've tested that a couple times, and I also run through a water test. So again here, I check and make sure there's nothing obstructing the articulation of that piece. Alright, so I didn't have any water to put in here, and I want to test the float, make sure it works from a functional standpoint with it installed. And so I had a jury rig up a little drain to my washer here. So I'm going to take the washer, expel all the water into the drain, and force the float to come up to make sure it works. So in this case, the drain hose just wasn't quite long enough to reach all the way over into the well. So let's try this out. Let's see how it works. Okay, there's another load. Okay, speed this up a little bit. You can see the foam rising. Most of the contents of that well is foam, and I probably should have used water, but again, good enough for government work. I just wanted to test it. Later on, I went ahead and went in and cleaned out the sump. There's a lot of debris in there that was been in there for about 20 years of accumulating, so it's a good idea to clean out your sump well and then test it. So in this case, you'll see shortly here, the switch will turn on and the pump will start working and suck all the water out of the well. So everything seems to be working and is copacetic, which saved me a couple $100 from calling a plumber, and you can do it all DIY. Alright, with the sump pump well done, everything's ready to go. Ran it 4 or 5 times through the washer, and looks like it's good to go. So again, $30 will save you from calling a plumber. Just add some elbow grease, and it's pretty simple. If this helped you out, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.